Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my Aetherdrift set review. Today we are talking about all the green cards of the set, and we are speaking specifically in terms of limited plays. So we're only caring about sealed and draft. That's what we're going to be doing. And we are doing just like a classic rating scale, A to F. So A's are bombs. These are cards that we like a lot. We want to first pick these cards. B's are cards that are like really great. These pull you into the colors. These are ones that get past you and you're like, how is this still in the pack? Let's go into that color. It must be open. C's are solid. They're pretty good cards, but like they make your deck, but you're not super excited about them. But they're good cards that you play. D's are pretty bad. Like you don't really hope to ever have to play these cards. Sometimes they go in your deck because something bad happened in the draft, but you know you're hoping you don't have to have any D's in your deck. And then F's you should just never put in your deck, and they should never be in your deck. We're going to be going through the cards from common, uncommon, rare, and then mythic rare, and then we're starting with the lowest mana value to the highest. Starting off with Stampeding Scurryfoot. So this is a single green for a 1/1 creature mouse with exhaust. You can pay 3 and a green to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and you create a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Oh, okay. I thought that this was going to have like just some other kind of blah, whatever ability, but 5 mana total for a 2/2 and a 3/3. I don't know. That seems pretty good. I like this a lot. This is a C plus. Like, I love 1 mana cards that like scale up later in the game, and this one does exactly that. It gives us a card. Like anytime we get a card from something, which is a token, that's huge. Getting that is huge. So it's C plus for sure. Moving right along, we have Beast Rider Vanguard, which is 1 and a green for a 2/2 creature human knight. It has an ability you can pay 4 and a green to look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And you can do this at instant speed, which I like a lot. That is huge for a card like this. 5 mana is like your whole turn, though. So it's not the kind of thing where you're able to just like have like hold 3 mana, play a creature, and do this. This is kind of like your whole turn. It does help you find stuff, but like I'm not super stoked on this. This is like a C minus. I don't really like this card very much. I think that hopefully you're doing other things, and this is like your last resort backup plan. It does get any permanent though, so that is helpful. Next card is Gibberic Omnivore, which is 1 and a green for a 3/2 creature beast guy. He's just a vanilla dude. We see him eating a toy of some kind, so maybe like the art makes it look like he destroys artifacts, but in fact he does literally nothing. I don't think you want to play this card. This is a D. Like if this is in your deck, you're like, oh man, I have to play this stupid vanilla thing. There are a couple vanilla synergies, so you know maybe he sneaks in there, but you're not happy to play this card. Yeah, let's just give it a D plus, I guess. Like it is a 2 mana card, so there's that, but whatever. Next up, we have Run Over, which is 1 and a green for an instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a mount or vehicle you control. And it says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. This is good. This is like an instant speed 1 mana like bite. This is awesome. It really likes to go into like the mount decks because you don't have to crew your vehicle to use this. And so being at like I think the green white deck is the one we care about it the most. But man, this is strong. This is like a B minus. Like we are really happy with this card. Strong card. I like this a lot, especially in mount decks for sure. Moving right along, we have Silken Strength, which is 1 and a green for an enchantment aura with flash. It has enchant creature or vehicle, and it says when this aura enters, untap enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent gets +1/+2 and has reach. Okay, I actually do kind of like this card. I'm not always obsessed with these like green enchantments. Sometimes they're really expensive or whatever, but this is 2 mana. It has flash. You can hit your vehicles. The best thing that I think that this has going for it is that you can put this on one of your vehicles, maybe to attack last turn, and it like untaps it, gives it reach, does all that stuff. But being able to target something that isn't a creature makes it harder for your opponent to do the thing where they're able to like blow up the thing you're trying to put your aura on, right? Like the classic thing is you try to put an aura on a creature, they kill the creature, and then the aura just fizzles. Well, if it's a vehicle, there are less things that target vehicles. There still are a bunch of things that blow up artifacts, but there are less things. And so it's a bit safer. And so with that, I'm just going to give this like a C. This is just solid. I think I'm pretty happy to play this card. Yeah, I do actually like this. Instead of giving, most of the time I think this card is similar, like close to like a C minus or a D. A C feels solid. All right, next up we have Venom Sac Lagak, which is 1 and a green for a 2/1 creature lizard mount with Death Touch. It says whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +0/+3 until end of turn, and it has Saddle 2. Okay, 2 mana 2/1 Death Touch, but the fact that when you saddle it, like it's really hard to trade with, and like it already has 2 power, so your opponent has to double block. You get to kill both of them. And if not, you get to get in there and get some of your speed going is kind of what this card feels like. I like it. It's like a C+. Yeah, I like that saddle ability quite a bit for this one. And, this is super nice with our run over. This has Death Touch. It's a mount, all that stuff. Like, it's great. I like this card. Next up, we have Bestow Greatness, which is 2 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +4/+4 and gains Trample until end of turn. This is a pretty big combat trick. Trample is great with the +4/+4, but 3 mana. Making me pay 3 mana? I don't like combat tricks that are this expensive. No, like C minus. Like I don't love this, and I'm probably never going to play around it. I'm going to get killed by this for stupid reasons, but I don't like it very much. It's too expensive. Next up, we have Broken Wings. Ugh, another card that's just like, okay. 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Normally, I feel like this is kind of like a D level card. This is an artifacty set, so it's a little bit more useful. So we give it like a C minus, but you don't really want this to be like your removal, especially when your opponent just kills you with like just creatures and mounts. You're like, oh damn, this card doesn't do anything. So it's a C minus. I think it's a little bit better than other sets because it's artifact set, but still, I'm not obsessed with this. Like, don't be overvaluing Broken Wings just because there's artifacts in the set. Next up, we have Loxodon Surveyor. All right, so this is the last of the Surveyor cycle. It's 2 and a green for a 3/3 creature elephant scout. It has Start Your Engines. Yeah. It doesn't have any keywords or anything, and then it has the same ability as all the other Surveyors, which is if you have max speed, you can pay 3 mana and you can exile this card from your graveyard to draw a card. I do like a lot of these cards, but this one seems like it doesn't exactly help us punch through. 3 mana 3/3 is totally fine, and it like kind of trades off with something and then you get to draw a card later. It's not exactly in the Start Your Engines deck, but there are ways for this to actually work out. I don't know, this one and the black one seem like the worst ones. I like the white, blue, and red one the most. So this is probably just like a C. I don't think it might be a C minus, but like the fact that you get a draw card is great. I'm just going to say this is a C. Just like we will play this card. It will do what it's supposed to do, but I think the other Surveyors are a bit better. Next up, we have Pothole Mole, which is 2 and a green for a 2/3 creature mole. And it says when this creature enters, mill 3 cards, then you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. All right, this card is awesome. This is doing all the stuff that the green-black decks want to do. Anything where you're like just dumping cards into your graveyard and then you get lands back so you can keep being able to play all your spells. These are usually pretty solid and we're happy with them. Yeah, there's also some good reanimation stuff going on. So yeah, Pothole Mole seems pretty good. This is a Mario Kart joke, right? Like there's the moles that pop out, and obviously we can see that there's a crash behind this. So I think this is the best disguised Mario joke. That's something, right? Like, nice. Okay, we can barely tell that that's what it is. It feels good. But just like probably a C plus for this card in that specific deck. We really like it. Other ones we'll see, but yeah, we like it. All right, next up is Velo Heart Bike, which is 2 and a green for a 4/2 artifact vehicle. When this when this vehicle enters, you gain 2 life, and it's a mana dork. So it taps for 1 of any color, and you can pay 2 to crew it. So this is really fitting like the 3 mana rock slot. Whether we're super stoked on that, like you do have to have green to play it too, which kind of sucks. It gains you some life, but I don't love this. I'm gonna give it a C minus. I think that I'm pretty happy if I don't have to play this card. And I think there's other ways to splash things. I don't really want this version of this mana rock thing. Also 4/2 like dies to lots of stuff, so meh, meh, meh. Next up, we have Hazard of the Dunes, which is 3 and a green for a 4/4 creature worm. It has trample and reach. All right, 4 mana 4/4 reach trample. Okay, that's definitely something. It also has an exhaust ability. You can pay 7 mana total, so 6 and a green, to put 3+1/+1 counters on this creature. So that's like 11 mana to make a 7/7 trample reach over some turns, but you could play it early. It does have like that kicker feel to it. I think this is totally fine. This feels like a C. I don't think we're super excited about this, but I can see people dying to this card. It's just expensive. But, being able to have, at the end of the game, if you need to dump a bunch of mana into something, this definitely does it and could win you the game. So there is that. Next up, we have Alacrian Jaguar, which is 4 and a green for a 4/4 creature cat mount. It has vigilance, and whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and it has saddle 1. All right, 5 mana, essentially 6/6 vigilance if you are crewing it. All right, that's cool, but it's still 5 mana. This slot is really tough. It doesn't have trample. I think I'd rather play the Dunes guy, because, it's just maybe a little bit better. This will do stuff, and it kind of clogs up the board a bit, but it still feels like a C minus. We're not obsessed with this. Like, okay, yeah. Hopefully you have better green cards to finish the game than this. Up next, we have Migrating Ketradon, which is 4 green for a 6/6 creature dinosaur. It has reach, and when this creature enters, you gain 4 life, and it also has cycling for 2. Okay, this card says, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die the turn I play this card. This is like a honey mammoth with reach and also cycling if you need to get rid of it early. I don't know if we're still in the space of honey mammoth being good enough, but this definitely says like I am not going to die next turn, which is good for these types of decks. I think we like this a lot better than the last card we saw. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a C+. I think this card will do the stabilization that it's supposed to do. Cycling it to reanimate it is not super exciting, but it is a possibility. But yeah, I think that I do actually like this card. Honey Mammoths tend to be pretty good. We might be past that era in Magic now, but I'm still holding out hope that that it's good enough. So that's what I'm hoping for. All right, next up we have the uncommon. Starting off with a banger, Defend the Rider is a single green for an instant. You get to choose one. Either target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn for 1 mana. Yeah, okay, sweet. Also, it could instead, you could create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature saddles, mounts, and crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. Yeah, I like this a lot. So this is kind of like, we have, it's like Snakeskin Veil without the +1/+1 counter, or you make a creature. The thing that I really like about this, and I've talked about this for other cards, making creatures at instant speed to crew your vehicles to block out of nowhere sounds awesome. This is like a new way of ambushing something, and I love it. Imagine just having your vehicle sit on the side, and your opponent's like, okay, we have free attacks right now. You're like, bam, 1 mana, flash in my pilot, crew my vehicle, block. It just sounds so good that I'm giving this a B-. Like, I like this card a lot. I'm going to be playing green because this is a card I'm going to take too much. I love it. I'm going to buy a bunch of copies. This card's great. All right, next up we have Molt Tender. It's a single green for a 1/1 creature insect druid. You can tap it to mill a card. You can also tap it to exile a card from a graveyard and add 1 mana of any color. So this is our little baby Deathrite Shaman, right? Like this guy does the things you want it to do. You do have to exile cards from your graveyard, so that is one downside, but it doesn't care what they are, and there are some things that care about getting rid of cards in your graveyard and all that jazz. This card seems sweet. You don't have to pay any mana to mill, which is super important. I think in those decks, this is going to be pretty good card. Getting it early, like just milling every turn. I know I love this. I'm also going to give this a B-. I'm going up on this card. I think I like it a lot. Graveyard decks, let's do it. Up next, we have Plow Through, which is a single green for a sorcery. You get to choose one. Target creature you control fights target creature and opponent controls, or you can destroy target vehicle. For 1 mana? This is a B. B-. You have to fight, which, okay, it's a B-, because fighting is significantly worse than biting. But blow up a vehicle for 1 mana? That's great. It doesn't hit any artifacts, but still, like, those are the ones you really care about. This is a good card. I like this a lot. Boom. B- all around, everybody. All right, next up. We got Point the Way, which is a single green for an enchantment. You get to start your engines. Okay. 1 mana green, start your engines. It's not a creature, but still. It also has an ability. You can pay 3 and a green to sacrifice this enchantment. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is your speed. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped. Wow. Okay. This is really interesting. So it gets your engine started right away, like turn 1, but it can't make your engines like you can't gain speed from the card itself, but it also wants you to ramp. If you don't do anything, this is a 5 mana get 1 card, but if you have max speed, this is 5 mana get 4 lands onto the battlefield. I don't know. This is pretty cool. I like the mixture of like you have to be aggressive to ramp, because a lot of times ramp decks just want to sit back and just do their rampy thing and then slam something. I think this is super cool. I like this a lot. I'm gonna give it a C. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I just don't know how it's gonna really work in the actual format, because like still maybe it's good enough that you can get it down early and do your start your engines thing, and then if you decide you want to ramp later, you can. But I'm going to stick with a C for now, and then we'll see what happens. Next up, we have Dredger's Insight, which is 1 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever 1 or more artifact and or creature cards leave your graveyard, you gain 1 life. Okay, so this is kind of the thing where if stuff leaves your graveyard, you get something, you gain a life. That's good. And it says, when this enchantment enters, mill 4 cards. You may put an artifact, creature, or land card from among the milled cards into your hand. Yes. This is great. This is like a solid C+ for that deck. Maybe even a B-, but let's stick with C+. This is 2 mana, mill 4, get any of the cards you care about back. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It does only care about the cards that you milled, so that is one thing. But this early in the game, there's nothing else there. I mean, like when you get it late, you can't get like your big bomb that got destroyed. But still, I really like this card. The gaining life portion is just like it's just like sprinkles on top. Like that might come into play, but for the most part, it's just the second ability. All right, next up we have Greenbelt Guardian, which is 1 and a green for a 2/2 creature elf ranger. You can pay a single green and target creature gains trample until end of turn. Okay. And it also has exhaust. You can pay 3 and a green, put 3 +1/+1 counters on this creature. So it's a 6 mana 5/5 that makes any of your creatures have trample. We haven't seen this ability in a long time. This feels like an old Magic card. This whole like target creature gains trample thing. I feel like that used to come up a lot more like when I first started playing Magic. So this is really cool to see. I think this could be really strong. Let's give this... I do think trample is important. Let's give this a... I don't know if I can give this a B. This is a C-. This is a C-, but I like it a lot. Keep it on the record. I do like this card a lot, and I think trample will be really helpful to give whatever creature you have. All right, next up we have Elvish Refueler, which is 2 and a green for a 2/3 creature elf druid. It says during your turn, as long as you haven't activated an exhaust ability this turn, you may activate exhaust abilities as though they haven't been activated. And itself has exhaust, 1 and a green, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So this creature does just have the ability put +1/+1 counters on it every single turn, right? Because as you can only do it once, but every turn you get to do that. Like on your turn, of course. But this seems like a kind of like interesting card where It's going to be really good in the exhaust decks, which is like, I think it's green, red, and green, blue. Those ones really care about exhaust stuff. The other decks is going to be kind of terrible. I don't think you wanted to sit back and like put counters on this, but 2 mana is pretty cheap, so I do like that a lot. I think this is either a C or a B depending on what deck you're playing, but keep an eye on this one for sure. It could definitely do some work. Next up, we have Rise from the Wreck. Okay, this one's kind of interesting. You have 2 and a green for a sorcery. It says return up to 1 target creature card, up to 1 target mount card, up to 1 target vehicle card, and up to 1 target creature card with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. This is finally we get a card that cares about creatures with no abilities. This is the first one we've seen that actually like rewards you for playing vanilla creatures in your deck. This is one of the reasons why you're like, maybe we play that 2 mana 3/2 from earlier, right? Like, this is 3 mana, possibly draw 4 cards. Now, there is probably a world where we don't, but still 3 mana, draw 2 from your graveyard. That's still pretty good. And this incentivizes you to have a bunch of different types of creatures. Or not just creatures, sorry, but mounts and vehicles. And don't just pile in onto one thing. You want to spread out. And this is the only reason I think we'd want to be playing some of these like vanilla cards. But even how great is just getting a vanilla card back? Like, does it feel kind of like half a card? If you trade it off with something, then it's pretty good. But I'm mostly going to be looking at this card as 3 mana, draw 3 from my graveyard. That's what I'm thinking. So 3 mana, draw 3 from my graveyard. Awesome. I like this a lot. This is a sweet card. I do think it's like a C+. We want 1 copy, and that's it. But I think this is really interesting and has the potential to get a lot of stuff. So really strong. Next up, we have Fang Druid Summoner, which is 3 and a green for a 2/4 creature ape druid with reach. And it says when this creature enters, you may search your library and or graveyard for a creature card with no abilities, reveal it, and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. All right, this is another one of the cards that cares about vanilla creatures. This one I don't care for that much. Like 4 mana 2/4, kind of a dumb body. It has reach, so at least you get to block some things, but you kind of have to have like this card is horrible if you don't have creatures with no abilities, and having creatures with no abilities in your deck is pretty terrible. Like, is this 4 mana 2/4 reach, draw a 2 mana 3/2? Is that good? No, probably at that stage of the game. No. The other ones aren't really good either. I think this is a D. Like, if there's a horrible thing that happens in your draft and it works out that it draws you a card, like, maybe. But this card's terrible. Like, please don't put this card in your deck. Next up, we have Fang Guardian, which is 3 and a green for a 4/2 creature ape druid with flash. It says when this creature enters, another target creature or vehicle you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. All right, so this not only gets to ambush something, but it also gets to give one of your creatures +2/+2. So you like save one of your creatures during a block and eat another one. Sure, yeah, this is like cool, but it's probably like a C-. Like, it's 4 mana. Like, how this is 4 mana. We had the Flash Wolf from the last set, which was 3 mana. It didn't have this other ability, but it exiled a card from a graveyard. I guess saving an extra card is kind of nice, but I still think 4 mana is so much to hold up. It just is. So with that, we're going to do like C-. Next card is Ooze Patrol. It's 3 and a green for a 2/2 creature ooze. It says when this creature enters, mill 2 cards, then put a +1/+1 counter on this creature for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. All right, so this is a payoff for like the Graveyard Matters deck. It's really big, but I don't know. I think this is probably just a D+. Like, it does mill you a little bit, but how big does this have to be before we're like super stoked? Do we like does it need to be a 4 mana 5/5? Does it need to be a 4 mana 6/6? And then we're like, okay, we're doing it. I think there's a little bit too much variance with this card. At a certain point, it just doesn't matter how big it is. It's still just kind of might die to stuff. I don't know. I don't love it. I think that this isn't the payoff you want. Don't take this card thinking that this is your big payoff for playing the graveyard strategy. It's just a big dumb creature, and it dies. Next up, we have Earth Rumbler. This is awesome. It's 4 and a green for a 7/6 artifact vehicle. It has Vigilance and Trample. Whoa, buddy. It also says you can exile an artifact or creature card from your graveyard. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. And it also has Crew 3. Crew 3 is what we've been talking about this whole review, all the different videos. That's the number I like because pilots get to crew 3. You want to be able to crew a vehicle with one creature, and pilots kind of dictate that. We can use Defend the Rider and make this creature into a blocker at instant speed. That's so exciting. But also the fact that you can just do that whenever, because you can just exile cards from your graveyard. It's a creature now. Your opponent is so worried about you. If you have if they've traded off anything with you and then you slam this guy, they're like, great, well, okay, they can crew it on their turn with a creature if they want, or they don't have to. They can crew from the graveyard. You can do this as many times as you want. This isn't like some of the other cards we've seen where it has an exhaust ability. No. This card is sweet. I like this a lot. This card's super strong. I don't know. This is a B level card. I would be pretty excited to be playing this card. It is 5 mana, but I think it just takes over. At that point in the game, your graveyard has a bunch of stuff in it that you've traded off already, and it you kind of feels like you crew for free. Yeah, I like this. Ugh. Next up is Tarion World Tyrant. It's 2 green for a 9/7 legendary creature dinosaur ooze with no abilities. This is the worst of all the vanilla ones. 3 green pips? How the hell am I supposed to play this card? It doesn't do anything. It's a 9/7 for 5 mana. It's just big. It's just there. I think this dies or gets chumped, or I just don't like it. We had a similar card like this in Foundations, and it was terrible. This is also terrible and is legendary. F. Worst one. And it's in the color that cares about it the most, you know? I really don't like it. Ugh. All right, next up is Autarch Mammoth, which is 4 green for a 5/5 creature elephant mount. It says, when this creature enters and whenever it attacks while saddled, create a 3/3 green elephant creature token, and it has saddle 5. Okay. Now we got to break this down. This is 6 mana for a 5/5 and a 3/3. So you get 8 power for 6 mana. That is a lot. That is strong. Also, you look at Saddle 5 and you're like, wow, Saddle 5, that's pretty expensive, Zach. What are you talking about? You always said Saddle 3 was good. Yeah, this actually says Saddle 2 because you give yourself the 3/3 elephant to crew. You just need one other creature and then you're golden, right? And then you start spitting out 3/3s like nobody's business. This card's sweet. I think this is a B as well. I think this is strong. I'm gonna groan so much when this comes down. It's gonna be so annoying. I like this a lot. This is awesome. Super awesome. All right, next up, we're moving into the rares. So we have District Mascot, which is a single green for a 0/0 creature dog mount. It has, this creature enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's, okay, green mana 1/1. And it's 1 and a green for an ability that says remove 2 +1/+1 counters from this creature. You can destroy an artifact. And whenever this creature attacks while it is saddled, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it has saddle for 1. Cool. Being able to get more counters on this and blow up your opponent's artifacts, that's pretty good. It blows up any artifact, not just vehicles, which is great. Though I'm trying to figure out how does this dog actually blow up? Does it pee on the artifact and then it rusts or something? I don't really understand how it has the ability to do that. It's just like a little corgi, but I'm not gonna get too obsessed with it. But anyway, he is cute though. So there's that. But a 1 mana 1/1 saddle 1, yeah, you do have to saddle it. If we can get counters on it other ways, there are a couple, but not a ton. So I don't know. I think this is it's probably a B minus. I'm not obsessed with this card. I think I had it a little bit higher, but it's hard saddling your 1 mana cards. You want them to saddle other stuff. You know what I mean? And then there's a certain point you can't really attack with this. It does go up and up as you go, so it does have a snowball-y thing. Okay, with the snowball, let's go back. We're going to just give it a regular B. I think just give it a regular B is fine. Next up, we have Web Strike Elite, which is green for a 3/3 creature insect archer with reach. So a 2-mana 3/3 reach creature. It also has cycling. You can pay X green to cycle this card. And when you do cycle it, you can destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment with mana value X. Sure. I think this has a similar issue to other cards that have are 2-mana cards that need both of the same color. Like it's just not going to happen that often. And if you do have a hand that is like green, play this on turn 2, you might not have your other color. You have to be pretty heavy green. I don't love it for that reason. And the cycling ability is kind of expensive. Let's just give this like a C+. Like it's a body for sure, but like I don't know. I think it's just more expensive than we want it to be. And when I say expensive, I mean like it's an expense to your mana base. That's what's hard. Up next is Afterburner Expert, which is 2 and a green for a 4/2 creature goblin artificer. Ooh, green goblin. Very cool. It has an exhaust ability. You can pay 2 green to put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature. Sweet. And it says whenever you activate an exhaust ability, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a pretty sweet payoff for the exhaust ability or the exhaust mechanic in Gruul. Like 3 mana 4/2, trade with something, play another card, exhaust it, get this back to the battlefield, just to the battlefield. And then at late game, you can exhaust it yourself to make it bigger so it just doesn't trade off immediately. Like, and immediately making it a 6/4. I think this is pretty good. This is like a B+. Like, you do want to have more of these abilities. Like, you can't just put this into whatever deck because it's just going to not be super great. But I don't know, if you have like 6 or 7 exhaust creatures, like this seems pretty solid. I like that. B+ for the Afterburner Expert. Pretty cool. Lumbering World Wagon is 2 and a green for a star 4 artifact vehicle. It says this vehicle's power is equal to the number of lands you control. And it says whenever this vehicle enters or attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and it has crew 4. I'm going to give this minus points for being crew 4. That's annoying. But 3 mana ramp is nice as well. Does give a body. But that's kind of it. I do think that the fact that the power doesn't, or the toughness doesn't change means that it will trade off. So you don't just get to ramp into Oblivion, but maybe all you care about is just ramping until it's dead. But crew 4 is a lot. It's probably too much. This is probably just like a C+. Like, cool card, but I think it's not going to do all the things you want it to do. It's going to cost more than you think. You're going to have to tap like your whole board to do this. And is it great to tap 2 creatures to attack with this thing to ramp a little bit? I don't know. Probably not. Next up is Regal Imperator. It's 1 green for a 5/4 creature dinosaur. And it says other dinosaurs you control get +1/+1. All right. Dino Lord. That's kind of cool. Also a 3 mana 5/4. That's huge. It is double green pips though, so don't forget about that. It can crew the last card, so that's something. But there aren't that many dinosaurs in this set. Most of them are at rare. I think there's 1 or 2 at common, or like 1 at common, and one of them, or I think 2 of them are like the vanilla creatures. So this is essentially like a 3 mana vanilla creature, but you don't get all the vanilla stuff with it. So this might just be a fun card for Constructed or something, but I don't know if we care about this in draft that much. If it was 2 and a green, I think I'd be happier, but double green is hard enough that it doesn't do enough, right? So this is probably just a C. Like, you're happy with the body, but it's hard to cast. And there aren't enough dinosaur things running around. So I think there actually is like 1 token or something. So maybe there is that, but prove me wrong, I guess. That's what I say. Next up, we have Ovaya Auto Mech Artisan, which is 3 and a green for a 1/2 legendary creature human artificer. It says each creature that's attacking one of your opponents has trample. So all of your creatures have trample. And it has a single green to tap it for this activated ability. You may put a creature card or vehicle card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you put an artifact card onto the battlefield this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. 2 +1/+1 counters. That's pretty nice. So this is an Elvish Piper. You just get to play creatures and artifacts from your hand for free. Artifacts is the addition that Ovaya is giving us. Yeah, this is super cool. Instant speed, you get to play this. Giving all your creatures trample is huge. Making your vehicles huge when you play them for one. All pretty cool stuff. Biggest thing is it's a 4-mana 1/2. And it just dies to like 1-mana spells, 2-mana spells. Like this is, if it was a 1/3, I think we might have a different conversation on our hands. But the body is just so weak. I guess she is kind of like an old lady, so that does make sense, like thematically. But I don't know. It seems a little bit like a dream. I'm probably just gonna give it a C. Yeah, see you later. I don't know if we're gonna love this card. I think we just need to be able to affect the board a little bit better. I think the trample does help a bit. Maybe it's a C+. I'm not sure, but in that range. I don't think we need to take this early. This card we definitely need to take early. Oh my god. Aganosaur Rex is the full name. It's 3 green for an 8/8 creature dinosaur with trample. It has cycling, 2 and a green. When you cycle this card, put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature or vehicle. It gains trample and indestructible until end of turn. So this is like a combat trick mixed in with a really big creature. 5 mana 8/8 trample. That is brutal. This kills. The thing about this also is that like the last card of Vaya, like this is the card you want to play, and it only costs 5 mana. We don't have to play this whole thing where you only pay it for 1 or whatever. Like this is it. This is all the card we need. 5 mana 8/8 trample. This is like an A, super strong. It doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, so we can't really give it an A+. But it is like, hey, I'm gonna kill you. It also has the added utility of like, if it's just kind of in your hand, you can save one of your creatures and we can get it back later from some of our cool like reanimation spells or like raise dead spells. Yeah, I like this card a lot. A for sure. Moving on to the mythics, we have Thunderous Velocipede, which is 1 green for a 5/5 artifact vehicle with trample. It says each other vehicle and creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, it enters with 3 additional +1/+1 counters on it, and it has crew 3. So your little stuff gets a little bit bigger, and your big stuff gets a lot bigger. Cool. This is strong. Like, it does need some other things to make it work. So I'm just going to give it a B+, because you just... It's kind of like Railway Brawler at home a little bit, because it doesn't like just double the counters. It just, you know, gives you a few. But it's still really good. It could also just be an A-. You know, honestly, it's probably just an A-. Just even saying the word Railway Brawler means like it's good. Yeah, strong card. Next up, we have March of the World Ooze, which is 3 green for an enchantment. It says creatures you control have base power and toughness 6/6 and are oozes in addition to their other types. It also has an ability of whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, you create a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Okay, I know what you're saying. This makes all your little dudes huge, and you just get to overwhelm your opponent. Your opponent can't cast spells in your turn, because then you get 3/3s that are actually 6/6s because of the march and all that. But this is a 6 mana do nothing enchantment for triple green. Yeah, God, I don't know. I can't really get behind this card. This card... Do we even want to try to do this? I don't know. I think it's probably like a C-level card, but triple green, you know, it does do things, and you're probably going to have creatures on the battlefield. But if you draw this late with nothing, like you're top taking and you have 0 creatures, like, this sucks. Your opponent obviously also doesn't have to play cards in your turn. They can just not give you creatures. So this is probably like, this is like a C-. I don't think we should probably want to play this card. Just let somebody else try it. If it's for the lols and for the meme, I guess, go for it. Like, do you? But it really is a win more card for sure. Next up is Pathbreaker Ibex, which is 4 green green for a 3/3 creature goat. It says whenever this creature attacks, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. All right. Okay, so this is much better than the last card we were talking about. It is a 6 mana 3/3, so that's kind of like meh, meh. But you attack once, and at least everything's getting +3/+3. I'm gonna give this like, this is probably like a B plus, because you need more creatures, you need a bigger board than just this thing, and hopefully you have other things that are bigger than this, but and it also has to attack with them to do the ability. But I think this is pretty strong. I wouldn't feel terrible like taking this pretty early. Yeah, strong card. Also, I forgot to say, this is a special guest. This is one of the special guest cards, so we won't see it very often, but you will see this card in draft every once in a while. So look out for it, because it's coming for you. But anyway, yeah, just a B plus here. Anyway, folks, that is the end of my green set review. Check out all the other videos for white through red, and stay tuned for the other 2 coming out. Please leave a comment if you agree with me, or especially if you don't agree with me. I'd really love to hear what your thoughts are. And subscribe to the channel. All those things help out so much. I really appreciate it. And once again, I'm Regular Zach, and I will see you again next time.